Good morning, America. Welcome to the Patriot Radio Show. I'm your host, Tom O'Halloran. I'm off for the Christmas break. I'll be back tomorrow morning for a brand new show, but today, please stick around. I'm doing a replay of my Islamaphobia show. If you've not heard this, it is packed full of information that will give you a better understanding of what the Islamists are doing here in America and how they're trying to take control, how they're trying to drive the conversation by calling everybody that speaks ill about Islam an Islamophobe. Please stick around, listen to this show, and then tune in tomorrow morning for a brand new episode of the Patriot Radio Show. Thank you and God bless.
San Bernardino, Loma Linda, Rialto listens to KCAA Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's a child of God, a husband, NRA conservative, radical right-wing supervillain, and Twitter rock star. American by birth, Texan by choice, and a badass by nature. He's the owner of TomO'Halloran.com, O'HalloranMedia.com, and PatriotRadio.net. Please welcome Tom O'Halloran.
Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Welcome to the fastest hour in radio. This is Jihad on America, and I'm your host, Tom O'Halloran. I'd like to welcome you to the show tonight. I'm broadcasting tonight from my underground bunker deep in Arcantana, Brascarado, and I'm here to educate, irritate, and agitate. Folks, you're going to be agitated tonight. I'll guarantee you that. If you'd like to join the conversation tonight, please call 888-909-1050. If you'd like to listen to the show on your phone, the number is 832-999-1050. You can also listen to the live stream or now watch the live stream video at PatriotRadioshow.com. We also have a chat room there, so if you come on over, log in and say hi. Again, my name is Tom O'Halloran. You can find my primary blog on the internet at TomO'Halloran.com. When you get there, please be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, any of the other social media that you fancy. Also, please follow my editor, Veronica Coffin. Veronica manages 15 blogs on our network, and without her doing that, I wouldn't be able to do this. She's also the producer of this show. You'll find her follow button at the bottom of each and every post. Please follow us on Facebook. We're facebook.com/Patriot Radio Show. Also, be sure to check out our blog for this show, which is jihadonamerica.com. I'm on air 3 nights a week, so please be sure to catch the Tuesday and Wednesday night shows, the Patriot Radio Show, where we talk about politics and everything that's going on in this country, what we need to do to get our country back to the way it used to be. On Fridays, I do it differently. I do this, Jihad on America, where we talk about the Islamists in America, who they are, what they want, and why you should be afraid. If you've not caught my show on the Muslim Brotherhood or my show Islam is Not a Religion, please find your way to PatriotRadioshow.com and catch both of these shows. They will give you a perspective on the topic that you've probably not heard before. It'll also give you a solid foundation upon which we build each and every Friday right here with Jihad on America. Keep abreast of my shows, listen to the live stream, as well as archives of any shows you may have missed, all on PatriotRadioshow.com. Now, usually we start the night off and we spend the next hour talking about acts of violence, things that have happened in the religion of so-called peace, the murderous, the beheadings, all the impacts of Sharia that end up with death to non-believers or to other Muslims that don't happen to believe as much as the Islamist extremists believe. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit differently. We're not going to read through a bunch of news articles or blog columns. I want to have a conversation about Islamophobia and talk about how it impacts our First Amendment rights. And as always, we'll be looking to Europe. We'll be talking about what's happened around the world because it is a look into the future of our country. And I always include the world when we talk about Islam because it's a look at what's going to happen right here in America if we continue to allow this cancer of Islam to spread here in the homeland. Tonight's topic is Islamophobia. And let's kick it off with a description of what a phobia is. According to the Merriam-Webster, a phobia is an exaggerated, irrational, usually inexplicable fear of a particular object, class of objects, or situation. Now, I've looked the word up in a number of different sources, and two words always appear: irrational and fear. If you're afraid of juggling live sticks of dynamite, that's not hand grenade phobia. That's a logical fear. If you're afraid of lying down in a pit full of snakes, vipers, rattlers, that's not a phobia. That's a very, very rational fear. If you're afraid of putting a blindfold on while you're driving down the freeway, that's not a phobia. If you're afraid of being killed by people that say they want to kill you, that is not a phobia. They use the word Islamophobia to brand somebody as a racist or a bigot. But we're going to look at things tonight, and we're going to examine the word. We're going to look at how they use the word Islamophobia to inhibit people's right to speak. Pennsylvania, a few years ago, there was a parade, and two buddies went out dressed as zombies. One of them was a Muslim zombie, and the other was a monk zombie, I think it was. A Muslim man standing at the side of the curb saw the Muslim zombie. I guess there was a sign around his neck that stated what he was. The Muslim stepped into the street, started wrestling with the man, trying to tear the sign off of his neck. The police came over. A police officer took a report. The case went to court. Armed with the man's confession, the Muslim said, "Yes, I saw it. It offended me. I knew that it could not be legal to say things like that. So I wrestled him to the ground and tried to take it away from him." Armed with a signed confession, Judge Mark Martin ignored the confession. He said it is not proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of harassment. I'm going to dismiss the charges. He went on to say, I think the forefathers intended that we use the First Amendment to speak our mind, not to piss off other people, other cultures, which is what you did. Dearborn, 2010. 4 Christians were arrested. There was an Islamic fair. And these Christians were there on public property, talking to people, civilly talking to people, not taunting. They were having a conversation. They were being taunted at times, but they were having a conversation about Christianity. And they were arrested. They were arrested for talking to Muslims about Christianity. 4 months later and several $1,000s later, they were acquitted of breaching the peace in September. Juan Williams was on the air on Fox News one day. No, Juan Williams from Fox was on the air and for NPR, and he mentioned, when I get on the plane and I see Muslims in Muslim garb, I got to admit, I get nervous. Juan Williams was fired for saying that, for being honest. Folks, stay with us. We're going to have a great show tonight. If you want to call in, the number is 888-909-1050.
Miss something today, yesterday, last week? Check out our podcasts at www.kcaaradio.com. AM 1050 KCAA. We leave no listener behind.
Tom O'Halloran.
We'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way. All brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
Welcome back. This is the fastest hour in radio. This is Jihad on America, and I'm your host, Tom O'Halloran. Before we get back into the Islamophobia thing, it is going to be the primary conversation this evening, but I want to read a paragraph to you. It's from the explanatory memorandum of the general strategic goal for the Muslim Brotherhood in North America. This was written in 1991. It was discovered a few years later in one of the leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood's basement. It was written in Arabic, but transcribed and validated. When I tell you that these people are here to destroy us and to take over, to dominate, it's not my words. Listen to this out of their document. The Ikhwan, that's the Muslim Brotherhood, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers, so that it is eliminated and God's religion is made victorious over all other religions. They are not here to coexist. They are not here to blend in. They are here to conquer. That is all Islam has ever been about. It's an expansionist platform. They are here to conquer. Period. Now, UC Berkeley. Yeah, UC Berkeley. They put together a paper on Islamophobia. And they said from the paper, the term Islamophobia was first introduced as a concept in a 1991 Runnymede Trust report, identified or defined as unfounded hostility toward Muslims, and therefore fear or dislike of all or most Muslims. The report pointed to prevailing attitudes that incorporate the following beliefs. Islam is monolithic and cannot adapt to new realities. Islam does not share common values with other major faiths. You think? Islam as a religion is inferior to the West. It is archaic, barbaric, and irrational. Islam is a religion of violence and supports terrorism. Islam is a violent political ideology. So if you believe any of those things, you are Islamophobic. See, that's what you get for going to Berkeley. You don't get smarter, you get stupider. You get stupider. Colonel Allen West said, "The truth can't be hate speech." Now, the Organization for Islamic Cooperation, the OIC, I was reading a report that they put out. It was the 6th annual report dated April 2014, presented to the 41st Council of Foreign Ministers. This is given to people all over the world. The OIC is actually an organization of, I believe it's 57 Muslim countries. They have defined, through 2 conferences on Islamophobia, they have defined their targets. They're going to focus on cartoonists, political officials, writers, and governments. They want to eradicate all manifestations of Islamophobia. That means any anti-Islam or anti-Muslim thought or activity. Thoughts included. We're not just limiting Islamophobia to acts of violence or bigotry or hatred or discrimination. Now it's this radio show. Because I'm more than thinking it, I'm saying it. Anything that presents Islam or Muslims in an unfavorable light is declared Islamophobia. That's anything whatsoever that portrays Muslims or Islams in a bad light. That means including factual reports that are undisputed. I usually start this show off reading through a list of Islamic attacks over the previous week. All the Muslim beheadings, the suicide bombers, all the killings done in the name of Allah in the past 7 days. This is now being declared Islamophobic. Factual, yes. Undisputed. The veracity of these numbers is undisputed. But it paints Islam in an unfavorable light. So they are calling it Islamophobia. No, it's not a phobia. I fear allowing savages to run rampant in our country. And it's a very valid fear. Because we've seen what happens. We've seen what they do. A Muslim officer in the army yells Allahu Akbar and kills 37 people in Fort Hood. Being afraid of these savages is not a phobia, because it's not irrational. They, however, seem to be Christian phobia, because when they see Christians, they kill them. Why would you kill the Christians if you weren't afraid of the Christians. The 9/11 Commission report came out about a year, maybe a year and a half after the towers went down in New York City. The word Islam was mentioned 322 times. The word Muslim 145 times. The word jihad 126 times. And yet, after Obama took office, the FBI's counterterrorism lexicon came out. And these three words were not mentioned a single time. It was 0 and 0 and 0. A year later, the 2009 Central Intelligence Agency's National Intelligence Strategy came out. Islam was mentioned 0 times. Muslims 0. Jihad 0. 2011, a report came out, Protecting the Force, Lessons Learned from Fort Hood. And again, these three words aren't present. How did this happen? I'll tell you how it happened. Obama opened the doors and let the Muslim Brotherhood and their front groups get into his administration. He's got 7 savages. 7 of these people working in his administration, advising him, telling him, having these words in government documents puts Islam in a bad light. Mr. President, you can't insult Islam like this. So the words are all scrubbed. The Quran, verse 812 and 860, the Quran uses the word terror. I will strike terror into the hearts of my enemies. The doctrine can say it. Islamic law can say it. But the government can't say it. The people of the Republic can't say it. Because Obama has let the wolf in to guard the hen house. My friends, stay with us. We got a lot more coming up on the other side of the hour. We'll be right back.
Real talk for real people. Right here in the Inland Empire. We are 1050 AM KCAA.
Tom O'Halloran, holding the line against tyranny from Washington, D.C.
Welcome back. This is Jihad on America. I'm your host, Tom O'Halloran. We're talking tonight about Islamophobia and how it's going to affect our First Amendment rights. Freedom of speech has been under attack all over the world in recent years. Geert Wilder, a former member of parliament in Denmark, he spoke up about Islam, how it was going to ruin their nation, which it has. He was summarily arrested and tried, and he appealed and lost, and he appealed again, and he beat the conviction, but he lost his seat in the parliament. He's become ostracized in society because there is a fatwa out on his head for speaking the truth. You say these people are dangerous, they're going to ruin our society, and they come at you with everything they've got, and they destroy you, thereby proving your point. But at what cost? At the cost of your freedom. There was a reporter in Canada a couple of years ago that reported on a speech by an imam, wherein the imam talked about fighting a jihad, about killing the non-believer. It wasn't the reporter that was saying they want to kill us. The reporter was talking about the imam that said he wants to kill us. But he wrote it in an article in Canada, and he was sued for defamation. He was sued in 3 different precincts: British Columbia, in Montreal, and at the federal level in the Canadian Human Rights Council, fighting 3 lawsuits all at the same time. Again, his life was basically ruined because he could no longer write. He was broke from fighting the lawsuits. In France, a couple ran a hotel. They booked everybody into the hotel, and there was a Muslim convert, a Caucasian, staying at the hotel, and one day they were sitting down just having a friendly conversation with this Muslim, asking her why she converted to Islam. And they had a casual conversation, a friendly conversation. And they got up and went about their day, and the guest got up and went about her day. And later in the day, the police officers came by and they arrested the couple. And again, they fought. They ended up closing their hotel, out of business, because they needed they sold their hotel because they needed money for the lawyers to fight these charges. They lost everything. Oh, they won the case. You see, they're not so much concerned about sending us to jail. They use the charges to silence us. In Canada, in France, in Spain, in the UK, in Denmark, it happens everywhere. You say something disparaging about Islam, about Muhammad, about Sharia, that paints Islam in a bad light, factual that your words may be, but they come at you with oil money, and they smirk because you buy gas for your car. They're using your money to destroy you. They're using your money to come at you. Now, the OIC is working towards a global blasphemy law. They want to codify it into international law. Bear in mind, there are 57 Muslim countries in the OIC. So this is naturally something that they would want to do. They're taking it to the Human Rights Council in Geneva and in the UN. Now, that's bad enough. That's a bunch of Muslims doing this, right? Well, what damage could that possibly be? But in 2009, Obama and Hillary Clinton sponsored OIC Resolution 1618 to, quote, combat intolerance. It is an anti-blasphemy law. Remember Obama's Cairo speech in 2008? When times turn ugly, I will stand with my Muslim brothers. And then after our ambassador and 3 other officials get slaughtered in Benghazi, and the State Department and Obama blame it on a video about Islam, Obama went on TV and he said, the future cannot belong to those who slander Islam. He and Hillary Clinton have both made comments that they will stand up and fight anyone that slanders Islam. Now, they both swore to uphold and defend the Constitution. And I've watched a lot of swearing-ins in this country. I don't ever remember the Secretary of State or the President being called upon to uphold and defend Sharia law, to uphold and defend Islam. Why are these two allowed to say these things and not be forced out of office by our Congress, by our Senate? They co-sponsored a law to make freedom of speech against the law. I say on a regular basis, I know that all Muslims aren't terrorists, but every Muslim is the follower of a goat-raping pedophile named Mohammed. By all of these laws, I would be thrown in jail. Those are just facts. I'm not insulting Islam. I'm explaining it. Mohammed did have sex with goats. This is documented. He did rape children. This is documented as well. He actually married one of his wives when she was 6 years old. We expect this kind of intolerance from them, but from our own President and Secretary of State. They co-authored Resolution 1618, combating intolerance. They're going to combat intolerance by being intolerant of our words. It's them that is intolerant. They want to say and do anything that they want. They want to behead their enemies. They want to behead non-believers. They want to stone their wives. But when we stand up and say that they want to stone their wives, they call us Islamophobic. No, I have a very, very rational fear of the spread of Sharia here in the homeland. Folks, stay with us. We're not nearly done with this topic.
Your voice, your opinions, heard round the world at www.kcaaradio.com. The station that leaves no listener behind, AM 1050 KCAA.
Tom O'Halloran has a not-so-common core spelling lesson for the Obama administration. Ready? There is no K in America.
There's kids that can't pray in school, $100 tanks of gas. I can tell you right now, this country ain't supposed to be like that. No, that ain't my America. That ain't this country's roots. You wanna slam, hold on to Sam, but I ain't letting you. Yeah, I'm mad as hell, and you know I still bleed red, white, and blue.
Welcome back. This is Jihad on America, and I'm your host, Tom O'Halloran. I want to pitch a video. Much of the information from tonight's show came from a video that I've been watching. And if this conversation has been of any interest to you at all, I urge you to go to silentconquest.com. You can get it on Google Play for about $5. It's also available on iTunes. It's a great video. It was actually done by Frank Gaffney. It's got pieces in there from Daniel Pike, Mark Stein, Alan West, Brigitte Gabriel. Who else did I see? And there's a lot of people. Brigitte Gabriel from Act for America. Folks, if you want to get involved, if you want to help stop this Islamic override of our country, go to actforamerica.com. It's a local. There are local chapters all over the country. If there's not one near you, reach out to the national organization and start one. They will allow this to happen. It's a tremendous organization. I go to one here in Houston. I'm also involved with the Act for America in San Antonio as well. The organization is phenomenal. The video is off the charts. A ton of great information in there, guaranteed to agitate, as I say. Now, Obama and Clinton, I've said that they've repeatedly made comments that they would do whatever's necessary to protect Islam from blasphemy. But like Islamophobia, blasphemy isn't saying things bad. I mean, it's anything that portrays it in a bad light, which includes facts. Blasphemy to Christians is putting a crucifix in a glass of pee. Liberals think that's art. But liberals get upset when we talk about facts like Muhammad being a goat-raping pedophile. That's a fact, folks. Why are you upset over that, but you okay with putting my Christ in a jar full of piss? Now, I don't want you to think that the Muslims don't have human rights. Oh, they've got their human rights as well. They've got the freedom of speech. Oh, yes. Don't take away from this conversation that that Sharia doesn't allow freedom of speech. Muslims have freedom of speech. It's a little bit different from ours. From the August 1990 OIC, where they adopted their Declaration on Human Rights in Islam, it says that everyone shall have the right to his opinion freely in such a manner that it would not be contrary to the principles of Sharia. So you've got a right to say anything about anything as long as it's not contrary to Islam. So you can call your neighbor a whore, but you can't say anything bad about Islam, or they will kill you. They do kill Muslims for doing this. Heck, they killed a bunch of cartoonists in France just a few weeks ago. What was that, 12 dead? For drawing cartoons. I wish I could draw. Oh, I wish I could draw. Hey, speaking of which, I can't draw cartoons, but I do build websites like a madman. If you guys want to see a very, very funny website, come visit webgoats.com. Web like website, goats like nah. Go to web. The entire bloc of 57 nations has accepted this human rights. definition. Well, you've got a right to say anything. But if you say anything bad about Islam, we have the right to kill you. What kind of freedom is that? Now, it all affects our First Amendment right, because we've got Obama and then Secretary Clinton, who plans to be President Clinton, trying to take away my right to say that every Muslim is a follower of a goat-raping pedophile named Mohammed. They want to take away that First Amendment right. Now you say they can't because it's a First Amendment. The government shall make no law to abridge the freedom of speech, right? Did you know that 2 years ago, Congress did exactly that? They passed a law abridging the freedom of speech. There are now such things as free speech zones. You cannot protest anywhere where the Secret Service is working. If the Secret Service is protecting a Secretary of State or a president or a presidential candidate, they can set up a zone 2 blocks away for your protest. That's the free speech zone. You can't protest out here in front of this building. That was nothing if not a law that abridged the freedom of speech. And yet every congressman in the entire Congress, save for Ron Paul and one other, voted to take away this little bit of our free speech. So what makes you so comfortable to think that we'll always be able to go on air and say that all Muslims are followers of a goat-raping pedophile named Mohammed? See, I've got to say it as often as I can because I could lose that right. Because we don't have a president willing to stand up for our rights. We don't have a president willing to uphold his oath of office and defend and protect the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution that validates our right to say these things. And we don't have a Congress that will stand up to the president and hold him liable for upholding his oath of office. We've got judges all over this country that are allowing Sharia law to influence them one way or another in lawsuits. Every one of those judges swore to uphold and defend the Constitution. And yet they're allowing Sharia law to influence cases all over this land. States are starting to wake up to it. There are some 27 states now with anti-Sharia laws either on the books or in the process of being approved and passed. But our rights are only our rights until they take them away. Just because the Bill of Rights says that these rights shall not be abridged, doesn't mean that they won't be abridged. When you have politicians taking money from the Muslims, when they're being bought with oil money, you can kiss your rights goodbye. Folks, get involved. Look up actforamerica.com and get involved. Find a meeting, find a chapter, or start one. This conversation will continue on other shows, but that's all for tonight. Good night, America. God bless you and yours. This is Tom O'Halloran. I'm out.